the Prophet Salih, peace be upon him, a bedtime story for listening. The night is your companion now. Whatever you were doing before, whatever thoughts the day left sitting in your mind, let them move to the edges. This story is old enough to have been told in a world where people knew the stars by name and could navigate by them across deserts. It comes from the same deep well as all the stories of the prophets, and like all of them, it is true in ways that go beyond the historical facts it contains. Settle in. Here is the story of Salih and the people of the mountains, and the she-camel who changed everything. The world had been through the flood of Thamud. It had been through the wind that took the ad. The earth bore the traces of both, in the patterns of sediment, in the shapes of valleys, in the strange formations of rock that travelers sometimes found and stood before in silence, knowing something enormous had happened here without being able to name it. A new people had arisen. They were called the Thamud. They inhabited a region of dramatic landscape, rocky valleys, steep cliffs, great formations of sandstone and limestone that caught the light differently at every hour of the day, turning from pale gold in the morning to deep orange at sunset to a kind of luminous gray in the hours before dawn. It was beautiful country, harsh and dramatic and beautiful, in the way that wild places are beautiful when they have not been made comfortable. The Thamud did not leave their landscape wild, they mastered it. This was their great skill, their great achievement, the thing that set them apart from all the peoples of their time. They carved their homes from the living rock, not built on rock, carved into it. They looked at a cliff face and saw rooms, chambers, halls, entire houses waiting to be revealed by careful hands and iron tools. They cut deep into the mountains and created interiors of extraordinary size, rooms with high ceilings and painted walls, spaces that would stay cool in summer and warm in winter, spaces that would not crack or crumble in storms, spaces that were, in every practical sense, more permanent than any structure built from assembled materials. On the walls of these carved houses, they painted flowers in colors so fresh and vivid that generations later, travelers who found the abandoned dwellings would think, for a moment, that they had been recently inhabited. The Thamud loved beauty. They were not merely skilled, they were artistic. The craft of shaping stone was also for them an art. They stood in the openings of their carved houses in the evenings and watched the light change on the valley below and felt what people feel when they are in a place that is also a home. Something like security, something like pride, something like contentment. The land provided for them. Allah had given them, as He had given the Ad, abundance. The fields around the rock formations were fertile. Water ran from springs in the cliffs. Their flocks multiplied. Their caravans moved between Egypt and Syria and Iraq and Arabia, carrying goods and returning with profit. The Thamud were, in the estimation of their world, doing very well. And the Thamud had forgotten, as the Ad had forgotten before them, as the people of Nuh had forgotten before the Ad, as people always seem to forget, given enough prosperity and enough time. They looked at their carved houses and thought, we are safe here, we are permanent. Floods come, we are in the rock. Winds come, we are in the rock. Death found the others in their flimsy built houses, in their exposed valleys, but we are in the mountain. We are the mountain. Nothing can reach us here. They made idols, as the peoples before them had made idols. They forgot the God who had given them their remarkable skills and their beautiful land. They stopped up the ears of their memory and heard only the present, felt only what was directly in front of them, and what was directly in front of them was abundance and carved beauty and a settled life of considerable comfort. What more could anyone need? The answer was accountability, gratitude, the acknowledgement that what they had was not merely theirs, not merely the product of their skill and effort, but a gift to be received with open hands and a grateful heart. The Thamud had skill, they lacked gratitude, and without gratitude, skill becomes arrogance, and arrogance is always the first step towards something else. And Allah sent them a messenger. The messenger came from among them, as the messengers always come from among the people they are sent to. He was a young man named Salih. He was from a respected family. His father had had hopes for him, ordinary hopes, the hopes that fathers have for promising sons, that he would lead the family well, that he would acquire wealth and position, that he would ride through the streets one day in honor, that his name would be spoken with admiration. Salih was indeed a young man of great promise. People who knew him said so. He had an intelligence that went beyond mere cleverness, a depth of thought, a habit of sitting with questions longer than most people would before answering them. He was measured and calm in situations that flustered others. He had what people call good judgment, which is rarer than intelligence, and rarer still than courage. The community had expected great things from Salih, and then Allah chose him. And the great things he did were not the things his father had imagined. Salih stood among the Thamud and said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no God but Him. He has made you from the earth and settled you in it. Ask forgiveness of Him and turn to Him in repentance. The community looked at him. Here was the young man they had expected so much from. Here was the son of a good family, the young man of promise, the one who was supposed to confirm all their values and add to the community's prestige. And he was standing in their midst, telling them to give up the gods of their fathers. The wealthy and the senior among them were the first to speak, and they spoke with the bitterness of disappointed expectations. Salih, we had such hopes in you. You used to be among us, a source of hope. Your father was a good man. Your family is a good family. Do you now forbid us from worshipping what our fathers worshipped? We are in serious doubt about what you are calling us to. There is a special kind of pain in this particular reproach, the reproach that uses a person's past against their present. You used to be one of us. You used to conform. You used to make us comfortable. What happened to that Salih? Can we have that Salih back? Salih heard it, and he answered it directly. He said, O my people, think about it. If I have a clear proof from my Lord, and He has given me mercy from Him, who would protect me from Allah if I disobeyed Him? You would only add to my loss. He said, I am not asking you to move mountains. I am not asking you to upend your entire lives. I am asking you to think, to look at your carved houses and your painted flowers and your springs and your fields, and ask yourselves, where did all of this come from? Was it from you? Did you make the stone before you carved it? Did you put the water in the springs? Did you put the goodness in the earth? Someone did, and that someone is who I am asking you to worship. The Thamud were not so crudely dismissive as the Ad had been. They were more subtle people, artists and craftsmen, people accustomed to detail and nuance. They did not simply laugh Salih away. They engaged with him. They argued. They debated. This too can be a way of refusing to hear, keeping the conversation alive in the mind while keeping the truth out of the heart. They said, Salih, if you are speaking the truth, if you really are a prophet of God, bring us a sign, prove it. And then they specified the sign. They pointed to a great rock formation near where they lived, a particular cliff that had a distinctive shape. From this cliff, they said, bring us a she-camel, pregnant, about to give birth, extraordinary in her size and appearance. If this cliff brings forth such a camel, we will believe you. It was a test designed to be impossible. Camels come from camels. They do not come from cliffs. Stone does not give birth. They were certain of this. They were setting a condition they knew could not be met, so that when it was not met, they could dismiss Salih with the satisfaction of people who gave him a fair chance and were confirmed in their prior belief. Salih looked at them. He looked at the cliff. He trusted his Lord, he prayed, and the rock face opened, and from it came a she-camel. Not an ordinary camel, extraordinary, large beyond ordinary camels, clearly pregnant as they had specified, and soon to give birth. She stood before the Thamud in the light of their valley and was real, solid, warm, breathing, the smell of animal and desert on her. She was real. She was a sign. The people fell silent. Even they could not deny what they were seeing. Even they could not dismiss this. The condition they had set had been met, and yet only one man believed. One man among all the Thamud who had watched the camel emerge from the rock face said, "Yes, this is from God. Salih speaks the truth." One man, the others watched and were unmoved in their disbelief, or changed only temporarily, in the way that people can be shocked into a superficial shift that does not touch the underlying position. Salih said, "This she-camel is a sign from Allah. Leave her to graze on Allah's earth and drink from the water, and do not harm her. If you harm her, a terrible punishment will come upon you." An arrangement was made. One day the she-camel would have all the water from the wells, and the people and their animals would find other water or wait. The next day, the people and their animals would have the wells, and the she-camel would graze and range freely. The Thamud agreed. The agreement was made. They would leave the she-camel alone. For a time, they kept to it. The she-camel became a feature of the valley. Everyone knew her, everyone saw her. She was impossible to miss, and she gave milk, the traditions tell us, in extraordinary quantities, enough for any who came to her to drink. She was not a burden on the community. She was, if they had the eyes to see it, another sign, another expression of the generosity of the God who had sent her. But the other animals did not like her. She was too large, too different, too unlike them. When she came to the water, the other camels and animals drew back, uneasy with the presence of something they did not recognize. Their owners noticed, and in the annoying way that practical grievances can come to carry the weight of all the resentment and pride that has been building underneath them, this small inconvenience, the animals shying away from the she-camel, having to be managed around her, became a focus for all the Thamud's unresolved fury at Salih's message. They had not been able to destroy the message directly. The she-camel stood there, large and real, as a refutation of their certainty, but they could destroy the she-camel. Among the Thamud, there were those the Quran describes as the most wretched among them, people who were not merely unbelieving, but actively malicious, people who were not merely proud, but cruel with their pride. 9 men in particular, from among the leaders of the Thamud, were the sharpest voices against Salih. They conspired, they schemed, they made their plans, and 2 of them, the worst of them, went out one evening and waited by the path where the she-camel walked. They hid, they waited, and when she came, this enormous, extraordinary animal, this sign from Allah, this living proof of what Salih had said was true, they hamstrung her. To hamstring an animal is to cut the tendons in its legs so that it falls and cannot rise. It is a cruel death. The she-camel fell, and then they killed her. The news spread through the Thamud like fire. What had been done was known, and the reaction among the people was not what it should have been. There was no widespread horror. There was no rush to find the killers and hold them accountable. There was, instead, among many, a kind of relief. The she-camel was gone. The inconvenience was over. The living proof of Salih's prophethood was no more, and they turned to Salih. And some of them said, with the recklessness of people who have decided not to think about consequences, "Bring us what you promised us, if you are indeed one of the messengers." They were daring him. They were daring his God. The patience that had been given to the Thamud, the centuries of warnings through their predecessors, the sign of the she-camel, the decade or years of Salih's calling, all of it had been squandered, and now they were standing in the sun, daring the divine to respond. Salih said, "Enjoy your life in your land for 3 more days. Then the punishment will come. This is a promise that will not be broken." 3 days. 3 days is enough time to change everything. 3 days is enough time to think. 3 days is enough time to fall to the ground and weep and say, "I was wrong. I am sorry. The she-camel is gone because of us, and we know what we did and we repent of it." 3 days is more time than people often get. And some of the Thamud, perhaps, spent those 3 days in the kind of half-consideration that people engage in when they are not quite sure whether to believe. Perhaps some of them looked at the sky on the first day and thought, "Should I worry?" And on the second day, well, nothing has happened yet. And on the third day, see, he was wrong, nothing is coming. And some of the worst among them plotted in those 3 days. 9 men who had been the driving force behind the campaign against Salih decided that they would act first. They planned to go to Salih's home that night, the third night, the night before the punishment was supposed to arrive, and kill him. If he was dead, they reasoned, the punishment could not come, as if the source of the punishment was Salih rather than the God who sent him. Allah protected Salih. The plotters went in the night and found nothing. Their plans came to nothing. And on the morning of the 4th day, the day after Salih had told them the punishment would come, they heard it, a shout, not thunder, not earthquake, not wind, shook in its wake. A shout that was more than sound, a shout that seemed to be the voice of the sky itself, declaring something final and non-negotiable. The shout went through the Thamud, and they fell. The Quran says they were like the dry stalks of hay that remain after a harvest, present in shape, but utterly empty of life. The carved houses stood, the painted flowers on the walls remained. The springs still ran, the valleys still had their beautiful light, but the Thamud were gone. Salih and the believer, the one man who had believed when the she-camel came from the rock, walked away from the silence of their people's land. And as Salih went, he turned back and looked at what remained, the empty carved houses, the painted flowers, the wells, the quiet. He said, and these are among the most moving words in any prophet's story, "O my people, I conveyed the message of my Lord to you, and I gave you sincere counsel, but you did not love sincere advisers." He said it not with triumph, not with the vindication of someone who was right and wants to make sure everyone knows it. He said it with grief, the pure, clean grief of someone who loved people they could not save. Let us think for a while about what the Thamud built and what they did with it. They built into the mountains, into permanence, or what seemed like permanence. A house cut into a cliff face cannot burn down. It cannot be blown over. It cannot be swept away by a flood in the ordinary sense. It is, in every material sense, as permanent as human habitation can be, and the houses are still there. The carved houses of the Thamud, in the region the Quran calls Al-Hijr, in what is now northwestern Arabia, they are still standing, some of them, hollowed out of the same cliffs the Thamud hollowed out, still showing in some places the marks of their tools, still bearing in some places faint traces of color on the walls. You can visit them, people do visit them. They come from all over the world to stand before these carved chambers and feel the weight of what happened here, or rather the lightness of it, the strange lightness of a place that was once full of people and is now completely empty, that echoes when you speak inside it because there is nothing to absorb the sound. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he passed through this region on one of his journeys, did not linger. He covered his face and urged his companions to move quickly through the valley, not because the land was cursed in any ongoing way, but out of a kind of respect for the enormity of what had happened there, the enormous, sorrowful, unnecessary loss of a people who had been given every reason to believe and chose not to. The houses stand. The people are gone. The tools of a great civilization are preserved in the desert air perfectly for thousands of years, and the ones who made them gone in a morning. And there is something about the she-camel that stays in the mind long after the broad outline of the story has been absorbed. Let us stay with her for a while. She came from a cliff. She was an extraordinary animal, unlike ordinary animals. She was, in the language of theology, a miracle, a sign of God's direct intervention in the natural order, a demonstration that the one who made the natural order can exceed it when he chooses. And she was gentle, she grazed, she gave milk, she moved through the valley, large and slow, and entirely uninterested in the political tensions around her. She did not know, or if she knew, did not show, that she was the center of a great conflict, that her existence was the proof people had demanded and then refused, that her death was being planned by people who resented the inconvenience of her reality. She was a camel, she was a sign, and she was killed, not by strangers, by the people she lived among, by the people to whom she was a gift. There is something almost unbearably human about this. The sign that is given is the sign that is destroyed. The evidence that is presented is the evidence that is eliminated. If the evidence can be removed, the case cannot be made. This is the logic, the terrible, transparent logic of the Thamud's action. Except, of course, that removing the evidence does not remove the truth. The she-camel was gone, but Allah remained. The sign was destroyed, but the sign giver was not. The Thamud had dealt with the proof. They had not dealt with the fact, and the fact came for them. Now let us think about Salih, and about what it must have been like to be him in the years of his prophetic mission. He started as the most promising young man of his community. He ended as the man who walked away from its ruins. In between, he spent what must have been many years calling people who had known him his whole life to a truth they refused to accept. He had a particular challenge that some prophets do not face. The challenge of the man who was expected to be exceptional in the terms his community valued, who instead turned out to be exceptional in completely different terms. His family had expected him to be a leader. He became a leader, but not the leader they had imagined. He led his people toward the truth rather than toward prosperity. And when prosperity and truth came into conflict, the people chose prosperity. This is always the choice. Every generation faces it, in large ways and small. The truth or the comfortable story, the difficult change or the familiar arrangement, the honest acknowledgement or the smooth dismissal. And very often, very regularly, people choose comfort. They choose the familiar. They choose the arrangement that protects what they have rather than the truth that might require them to give something up. The Thamud were not uniquely weak in this regard. They were typically human. Salih was asking them to give up a religious practice that was part of their cultural identity, part of their inheritance, part of how they understood their own lives. He was asking them to acknowledge that their grandfathers had been wrong. He was asking them to begin again, in some fundamental sense, from a different place. This is always a hard ask. This will always be a hard ask. And Salih made it year after year, without giving up, without compromising, without saying, well, perhaps you could worship both, your idols and Allah. He held the line. This steadiness, this refusal to blur the truth for the sake of making it easier to accept, this is one of the things that distinguishes the prophets from ordinary people, even ordinary good people. An ordinary good person, facing the level of rejection Salih faced, would have been tempted to soften things, would have been tempted to find a middle path, would have thought, maybe they will hear me if I make it less threatening, if I frame it as less of an either-or. But the prophets do not soften the truth. They cannot. The truth is what it is, and softening it to the point of changing it is not kindness, it is betrayal. Salih's kindness was in his patience, his sincerity, his genuine grief when the punishment came, not in changing the message to suit the audience. And what of us, listening in the night? We are not the Thamud. We are not carving houses into cliffs and ignoring prophets. But the patterns of the Thamud's failure are not alien to us. We know what it is to receive a sign and then find a way to dismiss it. We know what it is to be given evidence that something in our lives needs to change and to find 100 reasons why now is not the right time, why the evidence is not conclusive, why things might sort themselves out without the painful change being required. We know what it is to prefer the familiar to the true. We know what it is to be comfortable enough that the discomfort of change seems disproportionate to the benefit. We know what it is to protect what we have from the truth, rather than offering what we have to the truth. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the she-camels in our lives are not killed by malice. They are simply ignored, walked around, treated as irrelevant to the main business of living. The signs are there, the evidence is present, and we find, with remarkable creativity, ways of not quite seeing it. The story of Salih does not end with the destruction of the Thamud. It ends with an invitation, implicit, always implicit in these stories, to be the one believer, to be the person who, when the she-camel comes from the cliff, says, "Yes, this is real, I believe." The one man who believed when the miracle happened and walked away from the ruins with Salih. We do not know his name. We never know the names of the ordinary believers in these stories, but he walked out of the silence alive, and his descendants carried the story forward to us. Be the believer. When the sign comes, recognize it. When the truth arrives, uncomfortable and inconvenient, do not kill it to make the day easier. Let it live. Let it graze among your certainties and disrupt them a little. Let it drink from the wells of your assumptions. The she-camel was a gift. Every sign is a gift. The only question is what we do when the gift arrives. Salih walked away from the empty valley with his small band of believers. The painted flowers remained on the carved walls. The springs kept running. The valleys kept catching the light. The houses are still there, and the story still speaks. May peace be upon Salih, the young man of promise who found his promise in a different direction than anyone expected. May peace be upon the one unnamed believer who walked out of the ruins alive. May peace be upon all who have heard a truth they did not want to hear and chose to hear it anyway. The night is quiet, the stone of your life, whatever you have built, wherever you live, whatever your hands have shaped, hold it with open hands. It was given. It is held on trust. Sleep now. Tomorrow is another chance to be the believer. Good night. The mountain that could not save them. There is one more dimension of the Thamud story that deserves careful attention before the night deepens and sleep comes. It is the dimension of false security, the feeling of safety that is not real safety, the shelter that cannot shelter, the permanence that is not permanent. The Thamud chose to carve their homes into mountains because mountains feel permanent. When you stand at the base of a cliff face of sandstone or limestone that has been standing for millions of years, you feel small. You feel the weight of geological time. You feel, if you are the kind of person the Thamud were, something like confidence. I am making myself part of this. I am connecting my home to something that will outlast anything temporary. This is a very human instinct. We all want our homes to be safe. We all want our children to be secure. We all want to build something that will last. There is nothing wrong with the instinct itself. The Thamud's mistake was in believing that the mountain was the source of their safety, rather than the one who made the mountain. The mountain did not choose to stand for millions of years. The mountain stands because Allah wills it to stand. The cliff that seemed eternal is no more permanent than anything else. It is simply on a longer timeline. When the shout came, the mountain did not protect them. The shout moved through stone as easily as it moved through air. The carved chambers that had seemed impregnable were simply the places where the Thamud's bodies were found. Their security proved to be the security of self-deception. What is the real shelter? The Quran answers this question again and again, and the answer is always the same. There is no shelter from Allah except in Allah. There is no place to run from the truth except toward the truth. There is no security that is not at its foundation the security of being in right relationship with the one who makes mountains. This sounds abstract when we say it. It sounds like theology, but it is intensely practical. It means that the most stable thing in your life is not your house or your savings account or your health or your relationships or your reputation, though all of these are real and matter. The most stable thing in your life is your relationship with the one who will still be there when all of those other things have changed or ended. The Thamud did not understand this. They put their faith in rock. And when the rock could not deliver on what they had placed in it, not because rock is bad, but because rock was never meant to carry that weight, they had nothing. Salih's sincerity. There is a phrase in the story of Salih that appears at the moment when the punishment has come and he is walking away from the ruins of his people's land. He says, "I gave you sincere counsel." Sincere counsel. Nasiha in the Arabic tradition, a word that encompasses advice, sincerity, goodwill, genuine concern for the well-being of the one being counseled. It is the opposite of flattery. Flattery tells people what they want to hear because the flatterer wants something from them. Nasiha tells people what they need to hear because the counselor wants something for them. Salih gave the Thamud Nasiha. He told them what they needed to hear. He did not manage the message to make it palatable. He did not adjust the truth to avoid giving offense. He did not calculate what they would be willing to accept and give them only that. He gave them the full truth, the hard truth, the truth they did not want, because he genuinely, sincerely cared about what would happen to them. And they did not love sincere advisors. These are his words. Not, they rejected me. Not, they refused the truth. They did not love sincere advisors, because sincere advice is uncomfortable. Sincere advice requires you to examine yourself. Sincere advice holds up a mirror, and many people, most people in most moments, would rather not look too carefully at the mirror. They would rather surround themselves with people who confirm them, who agree with them, who tell them that what they are already doing is fine. The Thamud wanted comfortable advice. They wanted their leaders to tell them they were right to be proud, right to keep the old ways, right to resent the she-camel's inconvenient presence. And their leaders gave them exactly that, and it destroyed them. The prophet who came with real advice, with the uncomfortable truth that something needed to change, that what they were doing was going to bring catastrophe, that prophet they rejected. This pattern has played out endlessly in human history, and it plays out in our own lives. The friend who tells us the truth is harder to love than the friend who tells us we are right. The voice that says, "Something here needs to change," is harder to hear than the voice that says, "You are fine, keep going." The hard counsel is the gift. The comfortable counsel is often the poison. Salih knew he was being kind. The Thamud experienced his kindness as an attack. This is the great misunderstanding of our relationship with truth. We experience it as an attack because it asks something of us. We experience it as a threat because it requires change. And we forget because we are human, and forgetting is what we do. That the attack is the kindness, and the threat is the mercy, and the counsel that costs us something is the counsel that might save us, the she-camel's milk. Before the she-camel was killed, she gave milk. The traditions tell us that when the Thamud came to her with vessels, she gave milk in whatever quantity was needed, enough for a whole community. She was generous, in the way that miraculous gifts always are generous, exceeding what is strictly necessary, as if to make the point that this is abundance, this is more than enough. The Thamud drank from her milk. They benefited from her presence even as they resented it. They took the gift and kept the resentment. They received the abundance and held onto the irritation. This is remarkably human, the capacity to benefit from something while simultaneously resenting it. How often do we do this? How often do we receive abundance from a source we are simultaneously resenting or ignoring or failing to acknowledge? The food that feeds us, the air that sustains us, the beauty that meets us every time we look at the sky. All of it given, all of it generous beyond what is strictly necessary, all of it more than enough. And we drink the milk, and we forget the camel. The she-camel is a specific, vivid, almost uncomfortably concrete symbol for all the gifts we receive and fail to honor. She is there, she is large, she is impossible to miss, she gives and gives. And she is killed not by people who are unaware of her, but by people who see her every day and have decided, for reasons of pride and convenience, that they do not want to see her anymore. May we see the she-camels in our lives. May we see the gifts that are walking among us, large and slow and generous, waiting to be recognized. May we resist the temptation to eliminate what we cannot explain in favor of the comfortable certainty that we understand.